Hello and welcome to another episode of the Eunice Ajim show. I am your host, Eunice Ajim, and baby, today we are going to look at the pros and cons of launching a venture capital fund. So you want to be a VC. I think the first question, right, before we even get into the pros and cons is to ask yourself, why do you want to be a VC? There are so many people that want to become venture capitalists for the wrong reason, and it's a reason why they end up failing. I personally think, and I personally feel that unless it is your true mission and your true passion, and like God has put in your heart for you to either launch a VC, become a VC, work at a VC fund, then you should probably not do it. For me in particular, I think I've shared my story so many times, but if somebody was to ask me today, like, why did you become a venture capital fund? I would tell you, like, 4 or 5 years ago, I did not even dream. Like, I didn't grow up thinking that, oh, when I become an adult, I want to become a venture capitalist. That was not a thing. In fact, when I was younger, I wanted to be a model. I was skinny, I was fit. I thought, you know what, I'll grow up and I'll become a model. And then I grew up and I said, you know what, I enjoy business. My dad is an entrepreneur, so like he always taught me like how to build businesses. My dad has a thing about all of his kids. He always tells us this on a repeat, like you only work for somebody to build the capital to launch your own business. You never work for somebody just to get comfortable. So I always had the mindset growing up like, okay, like I'm working for somebody, but I know eventually I'm going to start my own business. And when I got into the business world, I think I was always one of those that said, like, not said, but like, I felt like I always had 100 million ideas on things that I could do to improve the African continent. Especially growing up in Cameroon, leaving Cameroon, moving to the US, and just seeing how things were so seamless in every aspect of my life. And I said, man, like, God, when would this happen for our country? Like, when would this change happen? And I think he always showed me so many ideas on like how we could improve. And I always said, God, I don't know why you keep showing me all of these things. Like, there's no way I'm going to build all of these 100 companies. But I went about my life. I built the one that I thought were the right timing for where I were in that particular stage of my life. Like, that was the best company for what I was doing. And I think sometimes when God put a vision in our heart, we tend to ask a lot of like, God, how am I going to get there? Like, how do you think I'm going to do this? And I think a better way to approach it is more, I'm trusting you and I'm following this path because I know the destination is going to happen, but the journey is just as important. And I am so thankful for all the struggles and for all the challenges that came my path. Because it pretty much led me to who I am today. And I didn't go into venture capital because I wanted to make money. I didn't go into venture capital because I thought it was a fancy job. I honestly went into venture capital because I saw a need. I started angel investing by accident and just realized that there were not a lot of VCs investing in African tech companies when there were so many opportunities on the African market that needed funding to be able to get them from point A to B. And that's really when I got started. So that's a little bit of my why. Like, I saw an opportunity, I saw that there was a problem, and I truly think that this is my purpose. When I used to have all the visions on all those different businesses, I didn't realize that it was not me that was supposed to start all of those businesses. I was just supposed to be there to facilitate the resources, the capital, and the network to make those businesses happen. And I think that's what venture capital brings to my life. And I think that's my why behind why I launched Ajim Capital. And I think when you're thinking about saying, like, it's easy to say, I want to be a VC or I want to do this. But sometimes we have to take a step back and say, why is like true passion? And like, why do I really think I'm going to be working on this business or on this opportunity for the next 10, 20 years or even for the rest of my life? Now that we have gone into the details of like, why do you want to become a VC? Let's look at the goods and the bads. And let's see if it's actually worth it. When we look at the pros of being a VC, I would say the first one is like fun. I mean, you get to like work with a lot of amazing entrepreneurs. You get to see so many ideas come to life. You get to travel a lot for work. You get to go to so many events. Like all of that is like the fun and exciting part of like being in venture capital. Another one is just good vibes. I mean, depending on like where you are in the world, some of the best conferences out there, some of the best events are typically tech events that has to do with startup founders and venture capital. We're all building amazing companies. That's so like some of the best events out there. Like typically, at VC founders, we're just all like you work with great people, extremely positive. We're all trying to make the world a better place. So like the vibes are typically awesome, and that's a great thing. The next one is a learning curve, right? Like being a VC, you have to do so much research. I just think that there's such like a big learning curve. There's so many jargons. The industry is constantly changing. I mean, in 2022, everybody was singing blockchain and Web3 and the metaverse, and then like out of nowhere, actually that was 2022, or we're in 20. I'm thinking futuristic. In 2022, everybody was talking about the Web3 and the metaverse and NFTs. And in 2023, everybody's talking AI. And you have to be able to adapt fast, learn quick, and just like really like figure out how to like grow as the ecosystem is growing. The next one is the freedom. You get to enjoy a lot of tremendous just autonomy and flexible work schedule. People always ask me like, Eunice, what does a day in the life of a VC looks like? And I'm always like, every day is different. One day I could be sitting on my laptop, literally just like researching companies all day long. Another day I could be taking meetings with founders or with investors. Another day I could be traveling. I could be organizing events. Like there's so much flexibility and freedom in like the way you manage your schedule versus somebody that might have maybe like a regular 9 to 5. And has to show up to the office at a certain time and at a certain period. The responsibilities, you are the privileged position of investing money for other people who trust you enough to take risk on their behalf. I think that responsibility when you're a partner or you're actually like among the founding team, it's actually like a big responsibility on your shoulders to execute and to make sure that the people who trusted you with their money, actually get a return on their investment or the expectations that you promised them. So it's definitely not a responsibility that I take leniently, but I also think it's one of the pros because like now you get the opportunity to manage so much capital from a network of people who trust you with their money. The next one is your network. You get to meet so many amazing people like entrepreneurs, LPs, other VCs, corporates, stakeholders. I mean, we're talking lawyers, universities, the press. Like I have too many journalists in my network now. I get to like collaborate a lot with corporates. I mean, one of them was like our AWS event last week. All of these different things just pretty much like helps you grow your network. And it's a great feeling. The one that many people think is a great benefit, but it's not, it doesn't always come easily, is money. You can make very good money when you are working for or running a top performing fund. And as many of you all know, the way we typically make money is through a 2% management fee or a 20% carry. That's like typically the 220 rule in ventures. Some funds offer more or less, but that's typically around the number. So if you're running a $10 million fund, the 2% management fee would typically be like $200,000 in an annual basis. And then when you obviously return the fund, you take 20% carry out of the interest that was returned to your VCs. And the last but not the least is status. VCs are considered generally high status job. You get respected in the ecosystem because you pretty much manage money and you have the power to invest and make money moves. So you get that great exciting feeling of being a venture capitalist and also like the respect that comes with it. But there are also a lot of cons, and we're gonna get right into it. Some of the cons of being a VC is that most VCs actually use soft skills. As much as we do so much research, so much due diligence, there's still like a big emotional and like that gut feeling when you're making decisions. That can be a great thing, but it can also be a bad thing. Because a lot of investment are done based off like personal relationships. Sometimes you can get into a really bad deal. I've not been there yet, but it is one of those jobs that you have to use a lot of the soft skills to be able to fundraise, to hire, to build a successful firm, to be able to like find founders and so many other things. And if you don't have those, it can make your job a lot harder. The next one is not owning anything. We buy a lot of equity into companies, but we typically don't see that, or at least realize the return on that investment, anything between 7 to 10 years. I've mentioned this so many times throughout the other videos. Like, it takes a lot of time for you to see a return on your investment. And the fact that the venture capital space is just a very illiquid asset class, when you make an investment, you pretty much forget it for like the next decades, with the hope that an M&A will probably happen, an IPO will happen, or maybe you will sell your shares into the secondary market. All right, the next one is pattern recognition. I think this can serve you really well, but it can also mess you up. We tend to invest in things that we know, or maybe if we have been successful making an investment in one pattern, we tend to look for that pattern to make more investment, and like sometimes that can lead into like very bad investment making or just decision making in general. The next one is saying no. Oh my gosh, I think personally this is one of the hardest, especially when you have to meet people on a daily basis. I mean, just this weekend, over the last week, with the two events that I attended, the AWS event and the African Startup Festival, I would say combined, I probably spoke to a little bit of 100 entrepreneurs that were literally in my face pitching me their company with like the puppy eyes and the hopes of like me just saying, yes, I will invest. And unfortunately, I just have to say so many no's, with a little bit of feedback on like why I'm saying no. And it's not a great feeling. Like nobody likes to deliver bad news, and I think we tend to deliver so many bad news. Like 99% of companies that we see, we have to say no. We have to say no to people asking us for mentorship. We have to say no to people wanting to pick our brain. Like, we have to say no too often, and like it can be draining. The next one is time management. The fact that we are on our own schedule is a good thing, but it can also be a disadvantage. Because you have to be able to like know the balance between traveling and doing what you're supposed to do while traveling, but also managing all the different things that you have to do, which is like looking at your back office, making sure that you're still reviewing a lot of deals, and making sure that you're speaking with founders, you're still connecting with investors. Like, and a lot of those things can be very unstructured sometimes because you're in a relationship business. So time management can be an issue. So you have to like set processes around your organization to make sure that you're successful. Okay, this is one of those that I actually think I'm really good at it, but it's a bad habit, like many VCs experience it, which is FOMO, which is a fear of missing out. I think when one investor gets really excited about a particular company, there's a good way they can create a lot of FOMO around that deal. And that's not just investors, I mean, even founders, right? Like, there's always that big fear of missing out. So we tend to like make bad decisions because you're just scared that, oh, what if? For example, I mentioned like a few companies here that I'm like, man, like I could have invested into these companies. And at those times, like, definitely there's a lot of FOMO, there's a lot of like tension between, should I make this decision now, or the deals is going to close and then make a bad decision, or should I just be very patient with myself and hope for the best. So FOMO is like just one of the biggest disadvantage. The next one, another con of being a VC. This one I'm gonna give it especially to my Nigerian people, my Nigerian VCs in the room. Ego. I think because of the title, some people tend to like wear wings on their shoulders. And I think that's a big con because a lot of opportunities are missed because you don't want to be portrayed a certain way, or you don't want to like show vulnerability. That is a con that I think can be improved. Like it's a nice state. It's great to to like have your boundaries. It's good to like be respectful, but I also think that there are some limits to like the fact that you're a VC. Some people, I think, it becomes, I will even say to some extent, toxic. Where they feel that they don't want to maybe be seen in a certain environment, they don't want to do things, and I just think it's ego. I think at the end of the day, we're all human beings. I think at the end of the day, we're all here to serve the ecosystem, and sometimes we need to just bring that ego down a little bit. All right, the next one is fundraising. Man, this is a hard one. I think the investing side of being a VC is the fun, it's thrilling. You're investing, you're writing checks into companies. But the one part that people don't speak about a lot is raising that money. Raising money is challenging. It's just as challenging for founders as it is for venture capitalists. In fact, I think raising money as a venture capital fund is maybe 10x harder than raising money for a startup. And the reason why I'm saying that, most VCs are out there publicly sharing that they are venture capitalists and that founders should pitch them, or that they want to find companies that are out there searching. It's very different for limited partners. They're typically very secretive. They typically don't announce on the internet that they're looking for emerging or just like fund managers to come and reach out to them. So it becomes even more of a difficult ecosystem to break into. But when you do, a lot of good things happen. But like fundraising is hard. It is a challenging part. Most founders, it only takes them, I would say, anything between 3 to 9 months to fundraise for a round. The average VC takes, especially when you're a minority or you're an emerging fund manager, it can take you anything between 12 months to 4 years. And I'm saying 4 years because I know a few very specific people that we praised in the ecosystem where the first and the second fund took a very long time for them to be able to close the fund. That is one of the hardest part, the hardest fundraising. That's one of the biggest cons when you're wanting to break into the industry. All right. I think that was my last one. That was the last one, and that was probably the hardest one of the cons of breaking into VC or just being a VC. So we went ahead and looked at all the cons and all the pros of being a VC. It's all fun. They have good vibes. Like, you make money, you have the status, but it also comes with its own challenges. I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and that you keep living your best version of the African dream. Have a blessed day.